The cold darkness of space held the USS Defiance like a tomb. For 53 years, the massive warship had drifted through the Kepler Nebula, silent and dead to the galaxy that had forgotten it existed. Ice crystals covered the hull where metal had cracked and atmosphere had leaked into the void. The ship looked like a ghost, a relic from a war that most people believed was ancient history. Deep inside the ship, emergency lights began to flicker. One by one, systems that had been sleeping for decades started to wake up. In the medical bay, 5 cryopods hummed with increasing power as their life support systems came online. Warning alarms began to sound throughout the empty corridors. Commander. Jake Harrison felt consciousness return like a tide washing over his mind. The cryo-sleep drugs left him confused and dizzy as the pod opened with a hiss of escaping gas. He tried to sit up, but his muscles felt weak and unsteady. Everything around him was flashing red warning lights and the sound of alarms he had hoped never to hear again. Commander, a calm female voice spoke from the ship's speakers. Welcome back. I am Aria, the ship's artificial intelligence. You have been in emergency hibernation for 53 years, 7 months, and 12 days. Jake's mind struggled to process this information. 53 years. More than half a century had passed since their last battle. He tried to remember what had happened, but the memories felt distant and unclear. Status report, he managed to say, his voice rough from years of disuse. Main power is at 8% and falling. Life support is running on backup systems. Hull integrity is at 67%. The quantum drive suffered a critical malfunction during our last engagement and created a temporal displacement field. This field kept us in stasis while normal. Time continued around us. Other cryopods were opening now. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Brooks stumbled out of her pod, her dark hair falling across her face as she tried to stand. She had been the ship's tactical officer, the best weapons specialist Jake had ever served with. Next came Chief Engineer Danny Rodriguez, a short man with steady hands who could fix anything that broke. Navigation Officer Kate Sullivan emerged from her pod, looking pale but determined. Finally, Dr. Ryan Parker, the ship's medical officer, pulled himself upright and immediately began checking the others for signs of cryosickness. Everyone okay? Jake asked as his crew gathered around him. Alive, Lisa said, running her hands through her hair. But I feel like I've been hit by a transport shuttle. Danny was already moving toward the engineering station, his professional instincts taking over. Commander, we've got problems. The quantum drive is completely fried. Main reactor is barely holding together. We're running on emergency power, and it won't last much longer. Jake nodded and looked around at his crew. These 4 people were all that remained of the Defiance's original complement of 200. The others had died in their last battle, fighting against impossible odds to protect Earth from the Zephyrian invasion fleet. Aria, what's the current status of the war? There was a pause that seemed to last forever. When the AI spoke again, her voice carried something that almost sounded like sadness. Commander, the war ended 47 years ago. Humanity surrendered to the Zephyrian Empire. Earth and all human colonies now exist under alien oversight. Human military forces are limited to light patrol vessels under the terms of various treaties. The words hit Jake like a physical blow. They had lost everything they had fought for. All the lives that had been sacrificed had been for nothing. Humanity had given up. Show me, he said quietly. The main screen flickered to life, displaying intercepted communications from across human space. Jake watched in growing horror as he learned what had become of his species. Human colonies existed at the mercy of alien administrators. Earth's government answered to Zephyrian overseers. The proud fleets that had once defended human space had been reduced to a handful of lightly armed ships. They made us weak, Lisa said, her voice filled with disgust. They took away our teeth and made us pets. Kate was studying the navigation data. Commander, according to these star charts, human expansion stopped completely 20 years ago. We're not allowed to establish new colonies without alien permission. Dr. Parker looked up from his medical scanner. Jake, there's something else you need to know. According to the communications we're intercepting, the Defiance is listed as destroyed. Officially, we died 53 years ago. The galaxy thinks we're ghosts. Jake felt something cold and hard settle in his chest. The Defiance had been humanity's most advanced warship, built with experimental technology that pushed the boundaries of what was possible. The quantum drive that had malfunctioned was supposed to give them tactical advantages that no alien force could match. Instead, it had trapped them in time while their people surrendered. Arya, what are our current capabilities? The temporal field had an unexpected benefit, Commander. While you were in stasis, I continued minimal operations and repairs. I have spent 53 years analyzing and improving our systems. The Defiance is now significantly more advanced than when you last commanded her. Danny looked up from his engineering console with surprise. She's right, Commander. The AI has been busy. Our weapon systems have been upgraded. Shields are more efficient, and she's built manufacturing systems I've never seen before. Jake walked to the main viewport and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, human children were growing up as subjects of an alien empire. They would never know what it felt like to be truly free, to reach for the stars without asking permission. The generation that remembered independence was dying off, and soon humanity would forget it had ever been strong. What are your orders, Commander? Lisa asked. Jake turned back to his crew. These 4 people represented something that the galaxy thought was extinct. They were the last free humans, the final remnant of a military that had once stood against the dark. They had a choice to make. They could try to contact current human authorities and surrender to the new order. They could find some remote world and live out their lives in hiding. Or they could fight. Arya, are our weapons functional? Yes, Commander. All systems are operational and enhanced beyond original specifications. Stealth systems? Fully functional and improved. We can operate undetected by current sensor technology. Jake looked at each member of his crew. He saw his own determination reflected in their eyes. They had all sworn an oath to defend humanity. And that oath had no expiration date. Then we're going to remind the galaxy what humans are capable of, Jake said. They think we're dead. That gives us an advantage. We can strike without warning, without them knowing we exist. What about the current human government? Kate asked. They've accepted alien rule. Then we'll have to remind them what freedom looks like, Jake replied. The Defiance isn't just a ship. She's a symbol of what humanity used to be. And symbols have power. The crew of the Defiance began preparations for their return to the living galaxy. They had been forgotten, written off as casualties of an ancient war. But they were about to remind everyone that some ghosts refused to stay buried. Hunt was about to begin. Commander Jake Harrison stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching the tactical display show 3 Zephyrian supply ships moving slowly through space. The alien convoy was heading to an outpost in the Outer Rim, carrying advanced technology and weapons that would strengthen their control over human colonies. Target acquired, Lisa Brooks reported from her weapons station. 3 cargo ships with 2 escort vessels. The escorts are light cruisers, probably 20 years old. Jake nodded. This would be their first strike against the aliens who had conquered his people. For 2 weeks, the crew had worked to restore the ship's systems and plan their attack. The Defiance was ready to remind the galaxy that humanity still had teeth. They have no idea we're here, Kate Sullivan said from navigation. Our stealth systems are working perfectly. To their sensors, were just empty space. The aliens had grown comfortable in their dominance. Their ships moved in predictable patterns, following the same routes they had used for decades. They expected no resistance from the broken human forces, and certainly not from a warship that was supposed to be dead. "Danny, how are our weapons looking?" Jake asked. "All systems green, Commander," the engineer replied. "Arya has done amazing work on the upgrades. Our plasma cannons have twice the power they used to have, and our torpedo tubes can fire in rapid." Sequence. Dr. Parker stood beside Jake, studying the alien ships through the main viewer. Those cargo holds probably contain medical supplies, too. Things that human colonies need, but can't get because of the trade restrictions. Jake felt anger burn in his chest. The aliens didn't just control humanity through military force. They controlled every aspect of human life, deciding what medicines people could have, what technology they could use, even what foods they could grow on their own worlds. "Beginning attack run," Jake announced. "Lisa, target the escort vessels first. We need to disable them quickly before they can call for help." The Defiance moved through space like a hunting animal, silent and deadly. The ship's stealth systems kept them invisible until they were close enough to strike with devastating effect. Jake watched the distance close between his ship and the unsuspecting convoy. "Firing range in 10 seconds, Lisa reported, her hands steady on the weapons controls. "Fire!" At will, Jake commanded. The Defiance unleashed its fury on the alien escorts. Bright beams of plasma energy tore through space and slammed into the first escort ship. The alien vessel's shields flared and collapsed under the unexpected assault. A second volley of energy blasts punched through the ship's hull, leaving it drifting and powerless. The second escort tried to turn and fight back, but the Defiance was already moving to a new position. Lisa's targeting was perfect, and her shots disabled the alien ship's weapons before it could return fire. Within minutes, both escort vessels were floating helplessly in space. "Signal the cargo ships to surrender," Jake ordered. "Tell them to prepare to be boarded." The alien cargo vessels had no choice but to comply. Their crews were traders, not warriors, and they had no weapons to fight with. Arya took control of their navigation systems, while Jake's crew prepared to board and search the ships. "What are we looking for?" Dr. Parker asked as they suited up for the boarding operation. "Everything," Jake replied. "Technology, supplies, information. Anything that can help human colonies or hurt the aliens." The boarding was quick and efficient. The alien crews offered no resistance as Jake's team searched through the cargo holds. What they found made Jake's anger burn even hotter. The ships carried advanced medical equipment, food synthesizers, and manufacturing tools that human colonies desperately needed, but were forbidden to have. "There's enough supplies here to help thousands of people," Dr. Parker said, scanning through containers of medicine. "The aliens have been hoarding this while humans suffer." Lisa found something even more interesting in the databanks of one ship. "Commander, you need to see this. These aren't just supply runs. The aliens have been conducting experiments on human prisoners." Jake read through the files with growing rage. The Zephyrians had been capturing humans from remote colonies and studying them like laboratory animals. They wanted to understand what they called the human resistance factor, the stubborn refusal of humans to completely submit even after decades of occupation. "Transfer everything to our ship," Jake ordered. "Then we send a message." They loaded the captured supplies onto the Defiance and prepared to leave. Before departing, Jake had Arya broadcast a message on all communication frequencies. "In the sector, this is a message to all who hear it." Jake's voice carried across space to dozens of worlds. "Humanity remembers. We have not forgotten who we are or what we can be. This is just the beginning." The convoy attack sent shock waves through both human and alien space. On human worlds, people whispered about the mysterious ship that had struck against their oppressors. Some said it was impossible, that no human vessel could have such advanced capabilities. Others dared to hope that someone was finally fighting back. On Earth, Admiral Susan Blake received urgent reports about the attack. She was the current commander of what remained of Earth's military forces, though she answered to alien overseers, who watched her every move. The tactical analysis of the attack puzzled her military experts. The ship used technology we haven't seen in decades, her intelligence officer reported. The weapon signatures don't match anything in our current databases. It's like a ghost from the old war has come back. The Zephyrian Empire was equally confused. Their military commanders had grown used to dealing with limited human resistance. A few smugglers, some minor sabotage, nothing that threatened their control. This attack showed capabilities that no known human force possessed. Meanwhile, the ship Defiance had moved to a new hiding place deep in an asteroid field. Jake's crew used their captured supplies to continue repairs and upgrades to their ship. Dr. Parker worked with the stolen alien research to develop new ways to fight their enemies. "Jake, look at this," the doctor said, showing him data from the alien experiments. "They've been studying us for decades, trying to understand why humans keep resisting, even when defeat seems certain. But their research has revealed something important." "What's that?" "They're afraid of us. Deep down, the aliens fear what humans might do if we ever became truly free again. That's why they work so hard to keep us weak and divided." Lisa looked up from her tactical station, where she had been studying alien military patterns. "The doctor's right. I've been analyzing their ship deployments and response times. They've grown comfortable with their superiority. They don't expect real resistance anymore." Jake studied the star charts, showing human colonies scattered across alien-controlled space. Each dot represented millions of people living under foreign rule, accepting limitations on their freedom because they had forgotten any other way to live. "Aria, what's our next target?" "I have identified several possibilities, Commander. There is a research facility, 3 systems from here where the aliens conduct their human studies. There is also a supply depot that serves as a distribution center for 6 human worlds." Jake made his decision quickly. "The research facility. We're going to free whoever they're holding there and destroy their data. That's going to be more heavily defended than a supply convoy," Kate warned. "Good," Jake replied. "It's time to show them that we're not just raiders. We're here to fight a war." The crew of the Defiance prepared for their second strike. They had proven they could hurt the aliens, but now they needed to prove they could free their people. The galaxy was watching, and humanity needed to see that. Freedom was still possible. The hunt was intensifying, and the predators were about to discover they had become the prey. The Zephyrian research facility hung in orbit around a dead moon, its dark metal surface dotted with sensor arrays and weapon platforms. Jake Harrison studied the station through the Defiance's long-range scanners, counting the defensive systems that protected the aliens' most secret work. 24 weapon platforms, shields at full power, and at least 50 personnel inside, Lisa Brooks reported from her tactical station. "This isn't going to be like hitting a supply convoy." Jake nodded grimly. The facility was where the aliens conducted their experiments on human prisoners, trying to understand what made his species so difficult to completely control. According to the stolen data from their last attack, over 200 humans were being held inside as test subjects. "Danny, how long until our new modifications are ready?" Jake asked. The chief engineer looked up from his console with a tired smile. "Aria and I have been working around the clock. The manufacturing systems are producing equipment I've never seen before. We'll have portable shield generators, advanced weapons, and something the AI calls neural disruptors." Dr. Parker joined the conversation from his medical station. And neural disruptors are based on the alien research we captured. They'll interfere with Zephyrian brain functions, causing confusion and panic. Their own studies showed that specific sound frequencies can trigger fear responses in their species. Jake felt a cold satisfaction at the irony. The aliens' own research would become a weapon against them. What about extraction? We need to get those prisoners out safely. I've been studying the station's layout, Kate Sullivan said from navigation. There are 3 prisoner blocks, each holding about 70 humans. If we can disable the security systems, we should be able to reach them quickly. Arya's voice filled the bridge with calm precision. Commander, I have been monitoring communication. Traffic to and from the facility. The prisoners are being prepared for a new round of experiments tomorrow. If we do not act soon, many of them will not survive. Jake's jaw tightened. Every day they delayed meant more human suffering. But rushing in without proper preparation would get his crew killed and leave the prisoners with no hope of rescue. We go in tonight, he decided. Lisa, I want you to target their weapon platforms first. Create as much confusion as possible. Kate, plot us a course that uses the moon's gravity to mask our approach. Danny, make sure those neural disruptors are ready. The attack began 3 hours later. The Defiance dropped out of stealth just long enough to fire a massive barrage at the research station's defensive weapons. Lisa's targeting was perfect, and half the weapon platforms exploded in brilliant flashes of light before they could return fire. Alarms screamed throughout the alien facility as the crew realized they were under attack. The remaining weapon platforms turned toward the Defiance, but the human ship had already disappeared back into stealth mode. To the confused aliens, their attacker had simply vanished. Jake led the boarding party through the station's docking bay, moving quickly through corridors filled with emergency lighting. The neural disruptors worked exactly as Dr. Parker had promised. Alien guards stumbled and fell as the sound waves scrambled their brain functions, leaving them helpless. First prisoner block is this way, Kate said, checking her scanner. 30 meters and turn left. They found the first group of human prisoners in cells that looked more like laboratory cages. Men and women of all ages huddled together, their eyes wide with fear and confusion. Some showed signs of medical procedures, with surgical scars and monitoring devices attached to their skin. We're here to get you out, Jake told them as Danny worked to override the cell locks. Stay calm and follow our instructions. Are you really human? Asked an older woman with gray hair and tired eyes. We haven't seen human soldiers in so long. I thought you were all gone. We're not gone, Jake replied firmly. We're here, and we're fighting back. The evacuation proceeded quickly through the station's corridors. Jake's team moved the prisoners in small groups, using the neural disruptors to clear the path of alien guards. Dr. Parker treated the worst injuries while they moved, using advanced medical supplies they had captured from previous raids in the second prisoner block. They found someone unexpected. Dr. Helen Carter, a xenobiologist who had been captured 5 years earlier, ran toward them with tears streaming down her face. I knew someone would come eventually, she said, grabbing Jake's arm. I've been studying them, learning their weaknesses. I have information you need. What kind of information? Jake asked as they continued moving toward the final prisoner block. They're not as strong as they pretend to be, Dr. Carter explained while they walked. The Zephyrian Empire has been avoiding conflict for decades. Their military tactics are outdated because they've never faced real resistance. They've become lazy and overconfident. They reached the third prisoner block to find something that made Jake's blood boil. Children, some no older than 10 years old, were locked in cells equipped with monitoring equipment. The aliens had been experimenting on human children to study how their minds developed under stress. "Get them all," Jake ordered, his voice shaking with rage. "Every single one." Lisa's voice crackled through his communicator. "Commander, we've got company. 3 Zephyrian patrol ships just dropped out of hyperspace. They'll be here in 10 minutes. "Almost done," Jake replied. "Keep them busy." The Defiance engaged the arriving patrol ships, while Jake's team loaded the last of the prisoners into escape pods. The children were terrified, but followed the adults who tried to comfort them. Dr. Carter helped organize the evacuation, her knowledge of the station's layout proving invaluable. "All prisoners secured," Danny reported. "But we've got a problem. The station's self-destruct system is activating. The aliens don't want us to capture their research data." Jake made a quick decision. "Arya, can you override their systems?" "Attempting override now, Commander. I can prevent the destruction, but I need 3 more minutes." "You've got it," Jake said, then spoke into his communicator. "Lisa, we need 3 minutes. Can you hold them off?" "Roger that, Commander." "But they're calling for reinforcements." The final minutes felt like hours as Arya battled the station's computer systems, while the Defiance fought off the patrol ships. Jake watched through the viewports as energy beams flashed back and forth in the darkness of space. His ship was outnumbered but not outgunned. "Got it," Arya announced. "All research data downloaded and self-destruct canceled. The station is ours." Jake's team planted explosive charges throughout the facility before leaving. They would deny the aliens their research center, but they would also make sure no one could use it again for such horrible purposes. The journey back to their hidden base was quiet. The rescued prisoners sat in stunned silence, many still not, believing they were free. Dr. Carter sat with Jake on the bridge, sharing everything she had learned during her captivity. "They've been getting reports from across human space," she told him. "Mysterious attacks on their facilities, supply convoys going missing, human resistance cells becoming more active. They're starting to worry that their control is slipping." "Good," Jake replied. "Fear is a weapon too." News of the research station attack spread quickly through underground networks across human space. The story grew with each telling, describing a mysterious warship that struck without warning and vanished. Like a ghost. Some said it was impossible, but others began to believe that someone was finally fighting back against their oppressors. On Earth, Admiral Susan Blake sat in her office reading classified reports about the attacks. The tactical analysis suggested capabilities that no current human force possessed, but something about the attack patterns seemed familiar. She pulled up old files from the First Contact War and found records of a ship that had fought with similar tactics 50 years ago. The USS Defiance, officially listed as destroyed, had been the pride of Earth's fleet. But could it really have survived all these years? Blake made a decision that would change everything. She sent a coded message to old contacts in the Resistance, asking them to spread word that humanity's greatest warship might have returned. The name Defiance began to appear in whispered conversations across human worlds. Jake stood on his ship's bridge, looking out at the stars where human colonies waited for freedom. They had struck 3 successful blows against the aliens, but the real war was just beginning. The Zephyrian Empire would not ignore these attacks much longer. Soon, they would face the full might of alien military power. But Jake's crew had already accomplished something more important than any single victory. They had shown humanity that resistance was possible, that freedom could be fought for and won. The galaxy was watching, and the forgotten warship was ready to remind everyone that some fights never end. The largest Zephyrian battle fleet in 50 years dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Vega system. War Commander Zephyr stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching his sensors count over 40 human vessels gathering around the mysterious warship that had been terrorizing alien forces for months. How is this possible? He demanded, his alien voice filled with rage. The humans have no ships capable of this level of organization. His tactical officer studied the readings with confusion. Sir, the human vessels appear to be civilian ships that have been modified with advanced weapons. But the technology signatures match nothing in our databases. Jake Harrison watched the alien fleet approach through the main viewer of the Defiance. His ship sat at the center of a growing collection of human vessels that had answered his call. Smugglers, traders, even some old patrol ships had come to join the fight. Each one carried weapons and equipment that his crew had manufactured and distributed over the past months. 43 ships and counting, Kate Sullivan reported from navigation. Captain Martinez brought 12 freighters from the Outer Rim. The Wilson brothers showed up with their mining ships. Even some of the old veterans came out of retirement. Lisa Brooks smiled grimly at her weapons station. They're not military vessels, but they've got heart. And thanks to our manufacturing systems, they've got teeth too. Dr. Helen Carter stood beside Jake, studying the approaching alien fleet through her portable scanner. The Zephyrians are confused and angry. Their formation is too tight, and they're not adapting to face multiple smaller targets. Just like I told you, they've forgotten how to fight a real war. On Earth, Admiral Susan Blake sat in her command center watching the battle unfold through intercepted communications. She had finally confirmed her suspicions about the mysterious warship's identity. The Defiance, humanity's greatest vessel, had somehow returned from the dead. Ma'am, her aide said quietly, the Zephyrian overseers are demanding that we send our remaining ships to help destroy the human rebels. Blake looked at the young officer and made the decision she should have made years ago. Send a message to all Terran Defense Fleet vessels. Tell them it's time to remember who we really serve. The first shots of the Battle of Vega came from the alien fleet. Massive energy beams reached across space toward the Defiance, but Jake's ship was already moving. The human vessels scattered in all directions, using tactics that the rigid alien formations couldn't counter effectively. They're trying to surround us, Lisa reported. Should I target their flagship? Not yet, Jake replied. Let them make the first mistake. The mistake came quickly. The alien commander ordered his ships to pursue individual human vessels, breaking up his fleet's coordinated defense. Captain Martinez and his freighters led several alien ships into an asteroid field, where they used mining charges to create deadly debris clouds. Now, Jake ordered, all ships execute Plan Delta. The human vessels suddenly reversed course and began coordinating their attacks. The Defiance led the charge, its advanced weapons tearing through alien shields while the smaller ships struck at damaged targets. The neural disruptors that Dr. Parker had developed proved devastatingly effective against alien crews. War Commander HFY watched in growing panic as his superior fleet was torn apart by what should have been easy targets. How are they doing this? These are cargo ships and mining vessels. His tactical officer's voice shook with fear. Sir, they're using coordinated pack tactics. Our ships aren't designed to fight multiple small attackers working together. On the surface of Vega Colony, Administrator Johnson watched the battle through his office window. He had served the aliens faithfully for 20 years, helping them maintain control over the human population. Now he saw alien ships burning in the darkness of space, while human vessels fought with a fury he had forgotten was possible. Sir, his assistant said, holding a communication device, the colonists are asking for your orders. They want to know if they should activate the defense platforms. Johnson looked at the device, then at the battle raging above his world. The defense platforms had been built by humans, but disabled by alien decree years ago. Activating them would be an act of rebellion that could cost him everything. Tell them yes, he said quietly. Tell them it's time to fight back. The Vega colony's defense platforms came online for the first time in decades, their weapons powered by fusion reactors that the colonists had secretly maintained. The platforms opened fire on the alien fleet's flanks, catching the Zephyrians completely by surprise. Planetary rebellion confirmed, the alien tactical officer reported with panic in his voice. The humans have weapons we didn't know about. Similar reports flooded in from across human space. On colony after colony, resistance cells were launching coordinated attacks on alien facilities. The Defiance's intelligence broadcasts had provided exact timing and target information, turning individual acts of sabotage into a galaxy-wide uprising. Jake's crew fought with desperate determination as the battle reached its peak. The Defiance's shields were failing under concentrated alien fire, but the ship's weapons continued to function perfectly. Danny Rodriguez worked miracles in the engine room, keeping power flowing to critical systems, even as hull breaches threatened to tear the ship apart. "Commander," Arya announced, "I am detecting quantum signatures from multiple locations. Additional ships are dropping out of hyperspace." Jake's heart leaped as he saw the new arrivals on his tactical display. Admiral Blake had brought the entire Terran defense fleet to join the battle. Earth's remaining warships, though limited by alien treaties, still carried enough firepower to tip the balance. "This is Admiral Blake to all human vessels," came the transmission that Jake had hoped to hear for months. "Today we remember who we are. Today we fight for freedom." The tide of battle turned completely as fresh human ships entered the fight. The Zephyrian fleet, already confused and battered, found itself facing a coordinated assault from all directions. War Commander HFY realized that his superior force was about to be destroyed by enemies he had dismissed as weak and broken. "All ships retreat," he ordered. "Emergency jump to hyperspace." But the human forces weren't finished. Jake had spent months planning for this moment, and he wasn't going to let the alien fleet escape to fight another day. "Arya, activate the quantum disruption field." He commanded. The Defiance's experimental systems, pushed beyond their design limits, created a massive energy field that prevented hyperspace jumps. The alien ships found themselves trapped in normal space with nowhere to run. "Surrender your vessels and prepare to be boarded," Jake broadcast on all frequencies. "This is Commander Jake Harrison of the USS Defiance. Your Empire's control over human space is over." The battle ended with most of the alien fleet either destroyed or captured. War Commander HFY's flagship drifted powerless in space, its crew unconscious from neural disruptor effects. The Vega system belonged to humanity once again. Jake stood on his battered bridge, looking out at the human ships that surrounded his vessel. The Defiance was scarred and damaged, but it had accomplished its mission. The ship that the galaxy had forgotten had reminded everyone that humanity would never surrender completely. Dr. Carter joined him at the viewport, her scanner showing readings from across human space. "Jake, I'm picking up quantum signatures from other systems. Ships that have been dead for decades are coming back online." Jake smiled grimly. The Defiance hadn't been the only human vessel lost during the First Contact War. Other ships with similar experimental drives had been scattered across the galaxy, their crews in stasis while the AI systems worked to repair and improve their vessels. "How many?" he asked. "At least 12 confirmed signatures, probably more," Dr. Carter replied. "The quantum field we generated seems to have triggered the revival protocols." Lisa looked up from her tactical station with wonder in her voice. "Commander, I'm receiving signals from the USS Vengeance, the USS Retribution, and the USS Freedom. They're all requesting orders." Jake felt a surge of emotion as he heard the names of ships he had thought were lost forever. Humanity's forgotten fleet was awakening, ready to complete the mission they had started 50 years ago. "Send a message to all human worlds," Jake ordered. Tell them that their guardians have returned. Tell them that the age of alien dominance is ending. The Defiance led its growing fleet toward the next battle, leaving the Vega system free and proud. The ship that had been forgotten was now a legend, its crew the symbol of humanity's refusal to accept defeat. They had remembered this warship, and now it had returned with blood on its mind and freedom in its heart.